Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how to install some Waverly bushings, and these are some beautiful gold Waverlys with ebony buttons, and underneath this foam in a little packet which I cut up before, there are these bushings which you have to insert into the headstock where the tuners go. So these have a smaller pivot point from which to turn. So Stuart McDonald, they sell this tool which is specifically designed to fit the Waverly bushings perfectly. And so before I finish an instrument, I use this in the headstock, guitar or uke, and then when you spray it, some finish gets in here, so you have to ream it. Well, not ream, but recut the holes just a little bit. And so what I do at first is I get a scalpel or some sharp blade and just remove the major crud here, but there's always some left over. And so I get this tool, and the number for this is 2062, and it's the 0.340 thou, and I've just marked that it's for the Waverly tuner set. They do a few more sizes, but the 2062 is the one you want, and that's listed on their website. The other tools you're going to need for this are just some sort of backing Caul that isn't going to damage the finish on the back. So I've got this scrap of plywood with some cork on it. It doesn't have to be that thick, I just use this for block sanding finishing, so it happens to be 3/4 of an inch, but you know, whatever works. Stuart McDonald also sell a fancier version of this. This is, well, theirs is about $50, I think, 55, maybe 60 now. I just got this from Harbour Freight for $3, and then I made, the only adjustment I made to it was this top piece. You can actually use it this way or that way, but I find that way is heaps easier. And I just turned just a tiny bit of ebony, and what that does, it just, I'll go through all this later, but when you're pushing the bushing in, this slides into the bushing hole, which is 1/4 of an inch, and it just stops the possibility of this slipping off and hurting the finish. And this works perfectly, it's great. So I've actually already done these 4, but I'll just do one to show you. So the beauty of this little tool, and these are fantastic, I think they're about $20, maybe 30. This part is 1/4 inch, and the posts for the Waverly tuners are 1/4 of an inch. So what you do with a headstock is you drill the first hole about 1/4 of an inch, and then you come back with this, and you just drill down until this touches the back, and then you know that the step that this creates is deep enough for this here, which you can see just there. And so if you just go slowly, and just go down until you can feel the tip of this bit just touching your finger. This is after finishing. If you're doing it before finishing, you just do it on the drill press, and you just go through till you hit the whatever the packing is on the bottom. But that is that stage, so you just do that to, you know, the 4 or 6 or however many tuner holes you have, just to clean them up. And they should look nice and clean like that. And so then we get to fitting the actual bushings. So you only need this one tool. And how I do this is I place, usually these are, you can get these in a round version, but these are the hexagon 6-side. How I usually do this or arrange this is I lightly fit these so this line or this edge of this bushing is kind of parallel to here. I'm not that fussy with it. See, the trouble with getting too fussy about it is if you put on the next one, it can look a little bit strange, because normally when people look at 2 stars like this, and these are 6-pointed stars, you would expect this point to be kind of facing this point. And I suppose they do if, you know, they do intersect, but you would expect it to be a bit more like this. And that's a way that you can fine tune it. But then this edge isn't parallel with this edge. Like I said, it's, you know, life's a bit too short to worry about such things. So I'm just going to leave it where it is and demonstrate how I put this in. So you just make sure that this is lined up nicely, which it isn't. So why it isn't at the moment, it's okay. Actually, it's a bit down that way, and a bit higher here, and likewise when I look at it straight on. So you just want to, just with your hand, just visually observe that that's going to go in straight. Because if you start off with this skewed, it's like when you're fretting, if the fret is sitting, you know, like this, it's going to go in funny and you've got to pull it out, and it's just a frustrating experience. So I put the Caul on the back. Then I place that in there, and that's going to be too tall. It's actually a good reason to make this a bit thinner, but that's okay for now. So I'm going to place that in there first. Then I'm just going to have to place that there. I'm going to try and find the best kind of angle for you. And I'll zoom in. And so this is all lined up on the back, it's all lined up on the top. Then I can slowly press down until the bushing edge just touches the finish and there's no gap. And just look at that all around, and that looks perfect. And so the next one, just line that up. I prefer gold hardware with the sunburst, and this is a hand rub sunburst, which is extra beautiful. Takes longer and it's just harder to do, but it is worth the time and energy to learn how to do a hand rub burst. Just on figured woods, there's no point in doing a hand rub burst on something that isn't figured. And so I'm all lined up here, and just squash this down. Like I said, I use this tool on all 4 holes prior to doing this, starting this video. I'll just do all 4 because it doesn't take very long. I used to press these in with a hammer, with my fretting hammer, and that did work, but I did get a few that went in a little bit askew. And there's always the chance of, pretend this is a hammer. If you're pushing it in with a hammer, there's always the chance of it sliding off, and once that happens, then you're set back about a month with finish work, and that's truly horrible. And so let's push this last one in. Good if I got the Caul around the right way. Okay. That one needs a tiny bit more work, just because my arms are around trying to film properly, but I'm trying to get an interesting angle, but couldn't quite do both at the same time. So I'll just push. Yep, that's perfect. Okay, so that is how you push in Waverly bushings. So the other something else you've got to think about, not because it matters, but because, well, I guess it does matter, but because some people care about things more than they should, perhaps. Unless you've got basically a rectangle headstock, these points this facet and this edge of the headstock won't line up, nor will these, and this line, this edge, sorry, this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge won't all be square, because there's too many curves and things happening. You just have to kind of find the middle ground, I suppose. And it always looks fantastic. If such a thing is a real concern, you can just buy the round Waverly bushings, but they're kind of a bit expensive. They're like $10 for 6. And these you just get for free, or no, not for free. I think this set of Waverly tuners cost $200 and something. And they are beautiful tuners. And I use I buy the guitar sets, and it's not cheaper necessarily to buy the guitar sets than the uke sets, but the uke sets don't come in gold, so if you buy 2 guitar sets you get 3 ukulele sets. So after that comes the placing of the tuners, and I will make that a separate video.